All right. Some technical difficulties. I was playing around with my phone and I was trying to show a chart and seeing if I can come at it from a different angle. And I ended up closing the live stream on my phone. And I'm like, okay, now that my phone is gone, okay, no problem. I'll just continue with the show now. And I was like, what? I just closed the live stream. So I had to quickly make a new link and all that stuff. So there might be some people on that video wondering where the live stream is, but hopefully they can figure it out that we're actually live on this video. Technical difficulties. This is the beauty about going live and trying something different every time. That should be a lesson right there. Maybe test it out just a little bit before, but I wanted to show this chart that I drew. Where's the right side? About the Baltimore thing. I made a video about it, so if you want to check out my my theories, if you will, about the Baltimore collapse of the bridge with the cargo ship, you can go check that video out. I was hoping to show the chart at the same time and then talk about it, but when I used my cell phone, it disappeared. I accidentally ended the stream. How's everyone doing? Good morning. All right. Lowly man for Christ. Awesome. Gonna have fun this morning. Gonna have fun. You guys have probably seen this thing. I've showed this a couple of times. This is kind of cool. I like this. This is my little go-to map, if you will. It's so nice because basically it just kind of walks you through all the areas that are going to be under the totality of the moon's shadow, if you will. So that's kind of interesting. It just loops. So you can see where we're going. This is Mexico, I believe. So it just takes you through. What's interesting on this map, you find it distracting. Okay, I'll bring it down a little bit. I find it relaxing, but I can bring it down a little bit. I can bring it down. I can bring it down. How about this one? Is that better? It's kind of nice and relaxing, don't you think? It's kind of nice. Sets the mood. How about this one? That one's pretty good too. Kind of fits. Kind of fits. I just like to play a little music at the beginning while we're chit-chatting here a little bit, and then I'll slowly segue out of the music. So we got all these places in Texas. This is about 1:30, 1:40 Central. What's interesting is I don't see these Nineveh towns. That's not to say that they're not there, but I know there's a lot of talk about 7 Nineveh towns, and I've watched this for a bunch of times, and I think there's 2 of them that we're approaching, but maybe they're just a small community. Hard to see them on this map. But there's 5 that are outside of this radius, and I think they're on the right side of this. You see the white line on the right side? There's like 5 cities called Nineveh, I guess. So this map is basically just telling you what areas are going to be under totality. That's basically what it is. Firing up their accelerated 4.8. Things are getting interesting. All right. I'd like to talk a little bit about this Baltimore bridge collapse, and then talk a little bit about, are we in a black swan right now? Are we entering into a black swan? If we are, how would we know? How would we know that we're in a black swan? Because by definition, you don't know you're in a black swan until you're out of it. But perhaps you can know you're entering into it. Perhaps. All right, so let me just pull down this music here. I find sometimes I think better with music playing. All right. It just conjures up thoughts as I'm speaking. So, are we in a black swan event? And we're going to dive into this Baltimore bridge. So if you have any, have a good night. Okay. Well, there's no more music, but if you want to go, I guess go. I like a little bit of music at the beginning while I'm talking. And it just helps people just kind of get re-engaged or whatever. And just, it helps you know that I'm just getting going. So if you hear the music in the background, it just means that, hey, he's getting ready to start. That's all that means. It's kind of like at the beginning of a show. You always see there's always a little bit of music at the beginning, but some people are like, nope, there's a little bit of music, so I gotta go. That's fine. You'll come back later. So I want to again introduce the black swan concept. As you know, I've been talking about this for about 2 years, and finally people are starting to wake up to the idea that, hey, we could be witnessing a black swan event. It could be this Baltimore thing. I think there's more than meets the eye behind the Baltimore bridge collapse. I've shown you video clips, and thank you for sharing these video clips with some people. Some people still don't see it. If you have to admit that when you're watching the footage from the news outlets, that they're editing it, obviously for content to make things nice and tight, but there's things going on with their editing, like they're speeding up footage to give you the idea that this cargo ship didn't have much time, to give you the idea, to plant into your head that this was just an accident and it's an incident. It's an incident right now. We don't know if it was done on purpose. I think it was 100% done on purpose, but I'm probably like in the minority. But that's what happens when you are when you think outside the box. Like I I don't look at things the same way most people do. I approach topics from the perspective. I try to go outside the box and I look at it from every different angle. I don't just automatically jump into conspiracy. When I was watching the bridge collapse, I was like, wow. The very first time I saw it, I was like, my first gut instinct was that bridge seemed to collapse instantaneously. That's all I thought. And then the more you watch the news feeds, they're like, there is like a ton of cars. I forget how many. Does anybody know offhand how many of those freight cars are those containers? How many are on that ship? I've heard numbers up to 2,500. It's interesting because the day picture seems a little bit different than the night picture for some reason, because the night you could clearly see the ship going past the column, past the bridge, and then it kind of pauses. It looks like from our perspective, it's pausing, and then all of a sudden you see it back in, because the reason why I say back in is because there's lights on the rear of the ship, and it kind of looks like it's, maybe I can design it like this. I'd have to look at the ship. I'm just looking at the footage. It feels like, I can draw this here. I don't know if this is going to do justice. I don't know if you can see this, but this is what it kind of feels like. That's the rear of the ship backing in, because you see lights and you can almost see that there's something going on here. The lights go on and off, and I don't know where the lights are, if they're like this. As it's backing up. But then when you look at the morning or the day footage, clearly there's a front end that's smashed and stuff. And it's like, why does that look different than a ship going this way? And it's impossible to turn that thing 180 degrees in that tight of a circumference. You can't make a ship do that unless you have a tugboat on either side of the ship and they're moving them. There's no tugboats to be seen, which is kind of interesting. I kind of thought with something that big, it would be kind of nice to have a tugboat standing by to kind of guide it a little bit to make sure that it doesn't hit bridges. That's just me. So it's interesting that when you look at the footage as the ship is approaching, what most news media outlets will do is they'll cut to the other camera and then show the reverse angle. So now the column is in front of the boat, and then you see it smash the column, and then the bridge collapses. So we're looking at two different angles at least. I think there was probably 4 angles. And again, I show it. I show it on here. You can see that. So you see number 1 there, that's the ship approaching the bridge. And then position 2 is it under the bridge. And then position 3, it's in front of the bridge, and then it backs into the column. The only other way to look at that is if that ship did a 180-degree turn and turned itself. I guess that's more than 180. It's almost a 300 and, is it 180? Yeah, it's 180. When in that footage would it have time to turn around instantaneously and go back into the column? When would it have time? The most logical thing would be for this to go straight into the column and smash it front on. But that's not what we're seeing in the footage that I showed. We see it go to position 2 and then position 3. And then there's a bit of a delay for like a minute almost. But then you realize that it's actually backing into the column. That's why I said the ship actually went past the bridge and then backed into it. But the news footage will actually show you from this angle, and they'll show you position 1 approaching the bridge, and then they'll flip to the other camera on the other side, which is camera B at the bottom left-hand corner, and they'll show that image, and then you see the ship hitting the column, and you're thinking, oh, that's just this. And then if you put a nice little video effect, like a little dissolve, you're going to see this right here, the ship actually hitting the column, and you're going to think, oh yeah, that's the front of the ship or whatever. And then when you see the day pictures, that ship is massive. It's almost the height of the bridge. And I know it's collapsed, but when you look at it, you're like, that is clearly the front of the bridge, the front of the cargo ship, clearly the front during the day. But at night, again, it looks like you could see the ship moving towards the bridge, because they want to show you the footage of the cargo ship approaching the bridge. And then your eyes can piece this together once they cut to the other camera angle. And the reason why I say there's another camera angle is because of this person right here. I call him personal camera person. It's kind of a weird name. He has a cell phone, and he's looking right here at the ship crashing. And it's actually, I think actually from his perspective, it's this camera right here. Yeah, that's right. I had the wrong one. It's this one. Residential AA is what I called it with the cell phone. The other angle doesn't work. Why? Because the ship is behind the column, smashing it. That's what that person is seeing. And then we also see the cars falling down from that angle as well. Just kind of interesting. So, I don't know. It's interesting, right? Yeah, it took a right turn into the pillars, but you got to think of how heavy this ship is. It's not going to make a hairpin turn like that. It's impossible. One, you have a current. Two, you have, what is it, like 1,000 tons? I don't know. Guys should look it up. If somebody knows how much that ship weighs, you cannot turn on the dime. But what you can do is you could crank up and do a full reverse your engines. That's why you see the diesel plumage all of a sudden. It's because they're reversing the engines. And somebody noticed this, you're going to create a backsplash because the ship's backing up. That's not how it's designed to go through the waters at a speed anyway, at a decent speed. You can back up, but you're going to create a wave. You're going to create a wake in front of the ship because it's actually pushing the water, and that's what we see as it hits the columns or the column. So, like, if we're just looking at this logically, there's no way that ship can turn around 180 and come back this way with its nose. It can't do it. You're going to see it go like this wide, but we never see it wide. We see it like this, goes past, and then backs up, and then it gets kind of blurry for a minute. But you got to think about it. This took 5 minutes. And in the news footage, they show you 10 seconds, and you'll see the semis going and all the cars going by. Like they're like a streak. That tells you how fast they sped it up. When you're watching the original footage, which we've seen, I've put it on, I shared links with people. You see vehicles going, semis, and they're going slow. They're going like this. That tells you the ship is just, it's going slow. It's methodical. They are purposely going past underneath the bridge, and they turn out the lights at just the right time so that you can't really see what's going on. And then they turn it on just a little bit just before they hit the columns, which allows us to see the back end of the boat. Unless you're telling me there's a whole bunch of lights at the front of the boat, which it's very possible, but I would like to see a 3D animation of that cargo ship spinning around 360 degrees. I want to see the dimensions, the height, everything. And then look at the picture of the current animations of the path of the Baltimore ship. But it stops. So that tells me you can program anything into an animation. That's easy. That's easy to do. But what you can't lie to your eyes. You can trick people by saying things. Look here, look at these explosions, and now you're not focusing on the ship. And these explosions can be explained away as in there's huge power cables. Huge power cables. Maybe they power up the whole community. Okay, I'm going to go with you on that. I'm going to ride along that little freight train with you for a second, that there is so much voltage in those cables in steel above the bridge. Now, if I was an engineer, I wouldn't put it up there. I would put it along the bridge. I would put it underneath the bridge, cables, and I would put them in conductors that are metal or whatever, plastic, whatever you want, and I would shield them from the elements, and then I would run as many electricity cables, power cables through it, protecting it so that nobody can touch it, no bird lands on it or anything. That's just me. I would run it through the bridge. But what people are saying is, no, it's normal to put high voltage power lines through the top of the bridge to power up a little light, a little lamp, so that planes don't crash into it. And then a lamp here, lamp in the middle, lamp at the end. Do you know how much voltage has to go into that? Next to none. So you're telling me when the bridge collapses and there's a little explosion flare here and here and here at the same point of where the bridge looks like it's breaking apart, you're telling me that's what those lines are there. Those are power lines. When we see in the background more power lines, like with the actual power lines in the background. So you're telling me they ran them on the bridge? That's the most efficient? Do you know how hard it is to build a bridge with the idea that we got to run voltage through before we're done building this bridge? We got to start running all these power lines. And somebody asked a brilliant idea. What are we actually powering? Oh, we're just powering these little lanterns. Doesn't that sound like overkill? Yeah, well, that's how we do things. That's just so super efficient. Why don't we run it under the bridge and make it tight? No, that's ridiculous, man. Come on, bro. Use your head. We like running things through the metal on the top and exposed. And you can never renovate. You can never like if something ever got damaged, you'd have to remove all those power lines first. It's crazy, right? Yeah, conduits. I would put them in conduits under the bridge. That seems to make the most logic to me. Or put it under the riverbed. You don't have to worry about this stuff, which is what typically they would do when you're going from North America to Europe. You don't get your video footage from anything happening in Europe from satellites. Zero from satellites. You get them from the underwater sea cables. And I think one of the main ports is like off of Newfoundland somewhere. Like it's a main hub. Once you get to the hub, now you can use line of sight towers and start distributing all the cable and stuff. Why do you think you can't get reception in the mountains? You think all the satellites go around the mountains? And all of a sudden they cop out? Why do you think Google's investing millions of dollars into ships to lay more sea cable? Why do you think Amazon is investing money into huge ships for under the sea cables? Meta. Why do you think all these companies do that? Why don't they build spaceships and satellites that say Facebook, that say Amazon, all these satellites? Because don't we put all our technology into the cloud? No, we don't. We don't store any of our technology in the cloud. All of our information is in these little ports, if you will, these buildings. That's where all the data is stored. So the United States of America is actually quite vulnerable. So is Canada. So is Mexico. We are vulnerable. Why? Because if you cut the power on these sea cables with a sub, we won't know who's invading who or what. All news outlets will be cut out. All you have to do is cut these sea cables and you will have no access to the outside world. And you're thinking, no, Shane, that's not true. It's satellites, everything, all our news broadcast, everything is all through satellites. It's not true. 99% of all our telecommunication comes via these sea cables. And if you damage a sea cable, all of a sudden you're not going to get any cellular coverage or anything like that. Just remember, when was it? Last year, 2 years ago, there was, I think it was last year, maybe. There was an island. I forget. Maybe somebody can text me. Text me the name of the island that there was like a little mini tsunami, an earthquake, and it actually moved the platelets underneath by the island. And what happened is the platelets overlapped a little bit and broke all the sea cables. So that island lost all communication with the world. Nobody could reach it. Nobody can communicate with them. They didn't know. They couldn't reach out to the world. So nobody could figure out what was going on because the sea cables got destroyed that were to that island. I thought it was one of the Hawaiian islands somewhere. Just can't remember where it was. But this is like just last year it happened. They lost all communication. So most people don't know this stuff. Maybe that's why you come to this channel, to get enlightened, if you will, that we're being snowed. It's a good term we like to use in Canada. We get snowed quite a bit. We get snow, but we also get snowed quite a bit. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here in Quebec. Ignore everything that's going on in Quebec with the Quebecers. I think there's a law that they're trying to pass that you can't do things like this on YouTube. I wish my buddy John Foytier was on right now. He can enlighten us a little bit. Yeah, we're getting hoodwinked. We're getting hoodwinked. This is why I don't watch the news, folks. because it feels like I'm watching kindergarten, like kids that are doing projects at school. And then, when they come home to show you a drawing and you're like, and I know my drawings are bad, but your kid comes home with a drawing or a plaster scene and they're like, look, daddy, look what I created. And you're like, oh, that's a cute little dinosaur. And they're like, that's not a dinosaur. That's mummy. Oh, whoops. My bad. Sorry about that. I thought the 4 legs and the long neck, it kind of looked like a brontosaurus or something. No, that's mummy. Okay, can I see daddy? And then you see something that looks more like a T-Rex. And you're like, dude, that's a T-Rex. It's like, no, that's daddy. It's like, okay, kid. Okay, kid. You got some growing up to do there. It's like that with the news footage that I see because I went to broadcast school. I'm just lazy when it comes to editing stuff on my channel. But I went to broadcast school communications for 2 years. I took television, radio arts, film, stage. I took the whole works. I was able to do radio shows on cassette and then later CD, all this kind of stuff. So I know how editing works. I understand it. I used to freelance at a company called CBC when I first graduated from SAIT. And I saw all the raw footage of bodies, of people that were dead. And they're like, we can't show this stuff. So here's how you edit around that to protect the people so that they don't see their loved ones on screen, on TV that are deceased. So you got to cut around that stuff. You don't show people the dead bodies. That was just kind of a rule. But now it's changed where you can show stuff, but I know how they manipulate images. It's sleight of hand. So when I watch a movie, because I went to broadcast school, they warned us in class. They said, you will never watch movies the same way again. And it's true. So I watch movies on 3 different levels. I watch them from the perspective of a fan, and I can get right into a movie. And I watch it from the perspective of being a critic, if you will. And then I watch it from the perspective of continuity. Like, do you see a scene where there's a helicopter scene and somebody's flying the helicopter or whatever, and then you see the glass in front of the windshield of the helicopter and you see the camera crew filming the helicopter? That brings me out of the movie experience. It's kind of like, even when you look at my glasses, you could see the light reflecting. There's a light right here. When you look at this, let me pull this off. It's a sticker. Now you're in my world. I broke that 4th wall, if you will. But that is, hopefully it sticks. That is a light, and that's the glare that's on my glasses. And if you do this wrong in Hollywood, they might have to reshoot that footage again, or they'll tell you tilt your head down so that you don't see the reflection. Normally, I probably should have this camera right here so it looks like I'm looking at you guys. Because look at this is all I have here. Look at this, you can even see the comments here. See the comments coming in? What? Oh, wow, why did I decide to move that? Because now, wow, what happened? Oh, I see. I'm like, now I can't figure out how my camera goes. I should learn not to touch anything. I'm dangerous with technology. Dangerous. I'm not a multitasker. So what's my point? My point is, you can manipulate the camera and edit things so it's no longer true. Yeah, and that's what's happening right now is they're doing it right before our eyes. And if you're used to watching the news and you're used to somebody saying, this is the truth, we're being honest, folks. We're gonna do everything we can to go back in time and figure out why this bridge collapsed. I'm gonna tell you why the bridge collapsed. It's because a ship smashed into it. That's not the issue. That's not the problem. It's why. Why did that have to happen? What was the reason behind it? Because you can't tell me that there isn't rules and regulations to protect citizens from this kind of thing from happening. Those construction workers were probably oblivious to what was going on because they died. And there were cars that went into the water and they died. Somebody needs to be held accountable for that. And nobody's talking about the accountability. One, it starts with that cargo ship. They're responsible for the contents that are probably in the ocean or in the river as well. Who knows if they're contaminated with stuff? We don't know. They're responsible for all their content. If a truck driver is going down the highway and a piece of metal comes out of the back of his truck and hits a windshield of a vehicle behind him, it is the truck driver's fault. So the people that were driving the cargo ship need to be arrested immediately, detained immediately. They're not allowed to go back to their country or wherever they're from. I don't care if they're from Ukraine or wherever they're from. You cannot leave Baltimore. Sorry, it doesn't matter if FBI agents or whoever has a bigger investigation. We're going to take these people somewhere else to investigate them. No, they should be in Baltimore. Stay in Baltimore. They need to protect those people so that they could be tried and questioned. This is a big deal. Don't let those people go off of that ship. Don't let them go back home. You got to isolate them, and you should be doing that already. You shouldn't be looking at the structure of the bridge. That's not the problem. I could promise you most bridges will collapse when you get a ship of that magnitude and hit it. Most will collapse. They may not collapse the exact same way, but they will go down. Or they'll be damaged beyond repair. The bridge isn't the problem. It's the cargo ship. That's the problem. You need to detain those people. You need to question them, and you need to scrutinize the video footage frame by frame. One angle at a time, not multiple angles at a time, like all at once. That's what the mediums do. The medium outlets do that because they want to control the narrative. They get paid by big sponsors that says, hey, we have to push this through. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So Darren Campbell says, I watched the bridge video many times and the ship was definitely going sideways until it hit. I didn't see that. I didn't see it going sideways. If you look at it from a certain angle, different angles, obviously if you put the camera here, you're going to look at the ship from this angle, 90 degrees, or 45, I should say. But what happened was there's a camera angle 45 degrees here, 45 degrees here, and then on the other side of the bridge, there's two more camera angles. And then there's somebody with their cell phone. Quite possibly they could have been part of the camera crew that had the camera, and then they just, because it's weird, right? Like, how many times do you see people zoom in as something is about to happen and then pull away and then move the camera down like, oh my lord, look at this. Well, hang on there, cowboy. Hold the camera still for 5 more seconds. Why do you have to move the camera at the second that you absolutely need the footage? Here's camera 101. You could film it like this if you wanted, or like this. Let's do it like this. Seems like everybody likes to do this, like this, for Instagram, I guess, or whatever. Okay, fine. Do that. How about this? You focus on your object, and then once you're done, count to 5. Bridge collapsed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or I'm going to film the bridge collapsing. You don't know what's going on? Fair. Hold it up. Hit record. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you have the footage. Bridge is about to collapse. Bridge is collapsing. Bridge has collapsed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hit end of record. But what happens is, oh, look at this. Oh, look, it looks like a plane is going to crash or the bridge is going to collapse. Oh, it's collapsing. That's so old school. Keeps you in suspense. And you're like, what? Whoa, what happened? They do it all the time. Right when something good is going to happen. Good. The part that you need for evidence, they go like this. Oh, look, this is horrible, horrible. Wow, did you see that? What I saw? Amazing. Yeah, just keep the camera on the subject. Drives me crazy. Drives me crazy. I understand that if it was backing up, it would have hit at the stern, not the bow. But when you see the ship, like I said, the original footage, and maybe we can look at it again. Let's have a look at it. Let's see if I can find it. I think this is a good discussion here. Let me see if I could find it. Give me a sec. They're probably going to start taking it down, would be my guess. My guess is they're going to start removing the footage. Okay, let's just look at this one. This is from the Toronto Sun. Toronto Sun? Bring it up right away. One sec. Okay. So let's go. Let's watch the footage. This is what is this here? What do we got going on here? Caught on camera, ship collides with Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. Okay, so you're going to notice here, this is only a minute and 30 seconds. Does that look like the ship is going backwards or forwards? Forward, right? Does that ship look like we're looking at the back end before this light switched off? Does that look like the back of the ship or the front of the ship? Simple question. Let me just see what the answers are so far. Is that the back of the ship or the front of the ship that we're seeing? What do you think? What are your thoughts? And is it approaching the bridge? Because we got to start with the basics sometime. Is this ship moving forward or is it moving backwards towards the bridge? I would suggest to you that it is moving forward to go under the bridge, not to hit the column. Not yet. Because if it hit the column right away, we would have saw everything going down, including traffic not being there on the bridge, because that is a key indicator that there was no harm done to the bridge if there's traffic on the bridge. Is that fair? Nothing happening when there's traffic on the bridge. It appears to move forward. Okay, and I agree. I think for sure that's what we're looking at here. So let me just play it now. Now we're just a little bit further, and that ship is cooking now. It's cooking. Look for any traffic. Any traffic? Any traffic? There's that plane. See the plane going by? You'll notice in the original footage, they forgot to rotoscope that out. There was traffic going and the plane was going by, or drone, or whatever that was. It's most likely an airplane, I'm pretty sure. So far, I didn't see traffic. Maybe you could see traffic. I didn't catch it yet, but I did catch a plane above the bridge, off in the distant horizon. Okay, there's a car right there on the right. We see a vehicle. Okay, question again. Did you see the cargo ship turn yet? Because we'll back it up just a bit. Did you see it go sideways yet? Is it sideways to you, or is it still going forward? Now, it does look turning sideways there. That is interesting. It does look like it's rotating right there. Wow, what a weird image. So bizarre. Right there. It looks like it's rotating. So if that's the back end, look at this. Right there. Right there. What am I looking at here? All of a sudden, it looks like it's turning 180 degrees. Right there. So what the heck am I looking at here? Oh, interesting that we're on the graphic and we come back to this part. Is that the same as this? Okay, we got to explore this here. Is it rotate? Oh my goodness, you can't even see it there. Okay, maybe we're closer to something here. Okay. So is that the back end of the bridge, or is that the side? Is it already sideways? Is it already sideways? The right side where it's in the shadow, is that the front of the bridge? Because look at it. It is looking like it's rotating. Right there. Turning, 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 turning. And there's still traffic right up there. So I didn't see that before. Clearly looks like they're making a 180-degree turn. Turning, 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 front end now. So that is the side. What we saw was sideways. What we saw right here, this is the side of the ship. That light on the left-hand side is the side of the ship. The one in the shadow at the front is the front of the ship. I didn't catch that before, folks. It's turning. But why don't they show us? Okay, look at this. This looks different than this. Watch this. That looks like it's going left to right. My goodness. Sorry, folks. So now this is not going that direction. It's sideways. It's almost, the nose is almost towards us. The stern, if I'm using it right, the back end is now more away from us than the front of the boat. So what we're seeing in white is the side of the boat. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's twisting sideways, right? Like you look at this now, it looks like now it's almost pointed towards that column. So that changes a little bit of my theory, because it looked like before it was past, but now I still think you got to go under the bridge. I still think, but I did not see it turning this far, like this fast, because I'm going to look at another piece of footage that is slower and it's real time. This is sped up. We still see vehicles going above. So at this angle, that ship is turning 180. pillar left where you can see it plainly. So let me back up a little bit here. This isn't the best footage, but we could definitely see it's turning right here. So those lights lighting up, I used to think that was the rear, and it confused me. I was like, how come there's lights on the back of the ship? And is this the back? Which is what I thought. But this is the front on the right. I wish I had my draw tool. We're looking at the front, and they're like turning the ship on purpose to go for that, unless they're saying mechanical failure and we only had power to one engine but not the other, and it just coincidentally happened underneath the bridge. Okay, fair. But I thought they said they lost power. So they're now turning. There's the front light coming on. This is the front light. Now it's coming towards the column. Now it's really rotating. And look, see the traffic above? Traffic. This sucker's rotating 180 degrees. I never saw that before. And right towards that pillar. Wow. Boom. So that's why you see the front during the daytime. My question to you now is it reasonable to say that this ship went on the other side of the bridge in order for it to turn around? Maybe it's 5 feet, maybe it's 10 feet, because I think we can all agree that the column is directly under the bridge. So in order to hit it from that angle, it's not sideways, it's not hitting it sideways. It's turned 180 back into towards that column. And there's still a semi above it. Turning, still turning. Like they are like trying to almost go 360 degrees. And boom, probably right. Still traffic. So this ship is on the other side of the bridge. I'm just going to look at the comments. Does that make sense that the bridge is now, or the cargo ship is on the other side of the bridge? So you're saying it never went completely under the bridge. Right now we're seeing the column and I'm seeing the front of the ship. It looks like it did 180. Maybe 175, 160. Is that fair? Like, I'm trying to be fair. This looks like the ship is on the other side of the bridge. Does it not? Or is it an optical illusion? Could have been rudder problems. But they didn't say that at the beginning. And it looks like somebody just turned like a car and turned 180 back into the column. So it looks like it's done on purpose. If there's rudder failure, fair. That is fair. If there is rudder failure, that is fair to say, hey, we lost one rudder. They lost their steering is what they're saying, but you never knew. So yes, it's turning. So let's continue here. Now it's smashing the front or the column. And then boom. Wow. It's still like, even with the flames, you could see there, like, what is going on with the flames above the bridge? Look at that. It's crazy, right?
Part of the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
Okay. I think we're getting somewhere. With this. Trying to be fair. All right. So we actually saw it in that footage. The ship actually turning 180. And it was pretty quick. Not quick, but it was pretty tight. I didn't think ships could turn tight like why do they need so much room to maneuver when you don't even need a tugboat? You can literally, he could have went 360 around that column. That's like a speedboat. I had no idea ships of that caliber can turn on a dime. I had no idea. Well, GPS tracking, okay. Are you saying, Ken, that you have the exact GPS tracking that they're showing you? And are you saying that you can't manipulate data? Because you should see this little hairpin turn. If you're saying that GPS is because we just saw it do a 180. You should see that in GPS 180. Okay, let's see if we can find another camera angle here. Bear with me for 1 second. This is good. This is why you come to this channel. Unbiased. Okay, this is the footage captured by a resident. Angle. Commercial ad. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to show. This is the footage from a resident. So we have to determine on this camera angle where we are. Are we in front of the bridge where the ship is hitting the column? Are we behind it? Like, what perspective from the other camera angle? And we're going to play it a couple of times so we can see this angle. Okay, so it's definitely on the other side of the bridge coming towards us. Okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look and see here. Zooms in, boom. Okay, so column is in front of the bridge. The column is in front of the cargo ship. Fair? So we now know that we are on the opposite end of the other camera angle that we watched. We're just across the water. That's all we are, right? Hang on here. Yes. I'm getting confused here for a second. But we're just opposite. We're on the opposite side of the river. Let me see the comments. I think most people would say that. Left part of the bridge, way closer to the camera than you think. The picture. Yeah, so we were on the other side a little bit further back. This guy, I call, what's he called? The resident, captured by a resident or camera crew. Not sure. It could have been a resident. But this is the point that I also make as well, is people don't hold the camera steady. Like, man, your camera could be worth so much more if you just hold the shot. Okay, listen to this guy.
Yo, what the? What the? No shot! No shot!
So that tells me he's not using a camera phone, like they said, cell phone coverage. This is not cell phone coverage. No cell phone does that. Zooms out like that. At least mine doesn't. Mine, I have to pull out with my hand, and you can almost feel them racking the zoom. So my question is, why would you pull it out? Why would you pull it out at the point of where you're actually watching it? How would you have the presence of mind, unless you're a person beside the camera operator that is saying, no, oh, shoot, oh, this is horrible. Camera person zooms out right away. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Let me back it up a bit. Right when you're getting focused on it, they pull away.
Yo, what the? What? What the? No shot! No shot!
Yeah, no shot. No shot. What does that mean, no shot? Is he swearing, kinda? Or I don't know what's going on.
gosh!
So now you stay out.
No way in hell I just witnessed that. No way.
So sometimes what they do, not saying it's this guy, but let's just go conspiracy for a second. Let's go conspiracy for a second. If I wanted to tell you that this was real and it's not real, I would say things like, no way, I can't believe I just saw this for real. This is like a movie, but this is real. I would try and tell you that. I would tell you, there's no way. This is so real. Wow, I never thought I would see this. I don't believe it. This is real. People don't really talk that way, but let's just hear what he has to say.
No way. The Key Bridge, the Francis Scott Key Bridge, just got hit by a cargo ship. What the absolute.
Dude, no way we just watched it.
Bro. Yo, shine a light on you. Shine a light on you. What the hell? Bro, that is a monumental moment.
That is insane.
Okay.
So what do we got? Like a camera crew there? That was weird. That was weird. Okay. Interesting, right? So we got two people, one person with the light. And the only reason why you have a light like that ready to go is because you need to see the camera settings. Because I've been on night shoots. You need a flashlight, you need a light so you can look at the aperture on the camera and all this kind of stuff. Because it's not easy to do a night shoot. But they had probably an SLR camera. Let me see 1 second here. This is why we do live, right? Hang on 1 second. Oops. Hopefully that didn't make anybody deaf. Always forget about that. Let's see here. Can I get this? Let's see. There it is. That closet is full. Okay. Wow. I didn't realize how jammed my office is. Hopefully everybody's ears are okay. I actually forgot about my I was plugged in. Can still hear me? Everybody can hear me? I actually just almost ripped out my whole microphone. All right, we're back. You guys hear me all right? Everybody cool? Here's what I'm talking about. Look at this camera. This is Canon T2i. So this is what I'm talking about right here. This thing. You're basically zooming in and out. This is just a smaller lens. But if you do this real quick, you're going to have this camera either on a tripod or you're holding it like this. And then you have your friend beside you with the flashlight to make sure that you could see all the settings on your camera and everything. So it's weird that the person went like this and pulled it out. Like, that's not what you do. You don't do that when you zoom in and you see something like a crash. You leave the camera there. Kind of weird, right? Yeah, and why are you saying no shot? Like, why would the person say that? No shot. That's something a videographer or a photographer would say. I got no shot here. I can't see it. Why did you think you had a shot in the first place? Did you know this was going to happen? Why would you say that? I would ask that person, why did you say no shot? Why wouldn't you say, oh, darn, or oh, shoot? Or is that what he said? Sounded like no shot. No shot. Weird, right? Yeah, right when you back out. That's the oldest trick in the book. If you watch professional wrestling, not that I ever watched professional wrestling. I'm just saying that what they would do to build the idea that it's not just entertainment, but it's real, is when they would slam someone on the mat, they would rack out or rack in. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, that looked really real. That's what you do for an effect. You zoom in and zoom out real quick. Hence the term called shaky cam, and makes it look more real. If you want to make a fight scene look real, just pretend you're going to punch somebody and then do this. And the audience is going to buy it. They're going to be like, oh, that looks like a real person filming it. And they're just like shaky cam. But the opposite is true when you're a professional videographer, is you shake it on purpose to make it look like it's unplanned. Because if you keep it there and you just park it and you hold it and you zoom in, it looks like you're ready for it to happen. So they got a little bit nervous and pulled it out. I don't know. I wouldn't want to go to court over that one. Why were you guys there? That's what I wanted. I would investigate those people right there. How long were you there? I want to see the footage before. I don't want to see it crashing into the bridge. Show me all the raw footage before you delete all the raw footage or hide it. Show me everything. I want your cell phones. I want everything. I want all your communication leading up to it, who you're talking to, if it was on the bridge, if it was on the ship. I want all communication from you. And I'm going to go to your home and I'm going to access your computers as well, because I want to see what projects you're working on regarding this bridge. And I want to see all communication. If you're an innocent bystander and you just happen to be filming this, why did you say no shot? You're now under suspicion. I would investigate those people. Yeah, the entire world went down after the Montreal screw job. Exactly. I pretty much stopped watching it after that. After my hero, Bret Hart. I actually met Bret Hart on a movie set. One of the guys that I always wanted to meet was Bret Hart. Lives in Calgary. And I actually met him on a movie set. And I asked him the question. I said, would you ever leave WWF? And he said, nope, Hulk tried it and I would never do it. Well, lo and behold, a year later, he did. He left. Crazy. Anyways, yeah, why were they there at that time? Good question, folks. Okay, if you hang on for station identification, I'm going to find the original footage. Let me see. It's going further and further and further down. So now I got to go into my history and see if I found it, if I can find it. Oh, yeah. Haha. That's the beauty about history. I'm just trying to see which one is the one to watch. Just trying to see, folks. Hang on here. Hold tight. Hold tight. Lots of footage here. I got some good stuff for you. Let's go with the longest one. There's one that's 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Let's see if I can find it. Is it 7 minutes? Yeah, 7 minutes. I think this is the best footage right here. You know what's funny is there's another, I think I'll show you this footage, but I think the reason why I like this kind of stuff is I actually watched an animation of the Titanic sinking, and it was like 2 hours long. Maybe it was 3 hours. I'm not sure. I don't know if you guys have seen it on YouTube, but it's animated and it goes time by, like it has timestamps. So basically, you watch this Titanic ship scrape an iceberg, and then basically there's a countdown of actual time, and then you can hear audio of what they would imagine people are saying. You can hear the bells, you can hear them saying iceberg, whatever. The point is, I watched it for like 2 or 3 hours, and then you could, if you fast forward the footage, you could see the Titanic basically go underwater. But when you're watching it, it's very subtle. You see the bottom row of lights disappear under the water, and then another row, and then another row of lights. And then eventually it gets to the point where the whole the whole ship goes like this and then breaks in half and goes under. So I watched that for a long time. It was just fascinating to me. So this is why I think I gravitate a little bit to this stuff. So let's just watch this. All right, so this is full video. Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. This is actually a live stream. So what we have to determine is, where are we? Again, are we watching the ship? And I think we're watching it from the same angle that we watched when we first started, where I said, look, it's turning, it's turning, it's turning, it's turning. So I believe this is the same area. And right now, notice on the top right-hand side, there's construction. They said they're, I don't know, they're looking at manholes or whatever, like trying to fix them, manhole covers or whatever it is. So there's still vehicles coming, but you're going to notice how slow the vehicles are because it's real time. So we're at, the time is 1:23. The time of impact was about 1:28. So we're going to watch this in real time, 5 minutes. And I'm going to pause it as we go. And then I'm going to check the comments because I can't do both at the same time. I can go like this. Does this bother you? Like this? Because then maybe... No, I think it's better this, I think. Because then we can watch everything. Stamp, timestamp, all this stuff. Okay. Both anchors, but maybe, you know what? Okay, I like that. I like that, what you're saying, Pabelina. I could buy, if one, let's just say they had 3 engines or 2 engines, left and right engine. Again, I haven't looked at their blueprints, but this is hypothetical. One engine fails, other engine's working. So that would tell me the right engine failed, the left engine works, thus causing it to start to turn to the right. And if the steering got jammed to the right and they have to make a 180-degree turn because they can't control the ship, okay. Now, if you factor in an anchor, that they dropped only one anchor, that would have to be on the right side of the ship on the back. Okay, so you dropped the anchor, only one anchor came, not 2, and one engine fail, okay, and the steering column, whatever reason, was to the right. Okay, I could buy that if that's what happened. You need 3 things at once happen to make you turn at 180. Otherwise, you're doing it on purpose. I don't want to lean on the idea that you're doing it on purpose. So let's look at mechanical failure on these 3 levels. Now let's watch this footage and see what's going on. They need to investigate the twisted metal from the bridge for explosives also. Yes, for sure. That is definitely, that would be the secondary thing. Why did the bridge collapse so easy? But again, I could buy physics. I could buy the idea that a ship with this much weight would take down this ship. I could buy that. I could buy it. It makes sense. It's fast. It's furious. All this stuff. but there's a lot of weight going behind that ship. So I don't understand enough to rule that out and say, no, 4,500,000 tons of cargo. I can't calculate that and say that, no, the bridge should withstand that. It looks kind of flimsy when you think about it and you look at it. So, okay. Is there conduits going through the top of the bridge? Does that make the most sense versus straight across, which is what I would think I would do? Don't forget there's power lines. Look at that little, or that's a cell tower maybe actually right behind. Looks like a cell tower. Okay. So let's play this footage here. Let's see what's going on here, and then you guys can describe it as you see it going on. We're going to watch for the ship turning is the idea here. So let's watch. I'm making sure you guys can see it as well. And this looks like, to me, this is in real time because the seconds are going 23, 24, 25. I see the ship going. I see lots of traffic going. I do see the construction, whatever is going on there. I see a cell tower in the background, a light, 3 lights on this bridge, probably for low-flying planes. And I see this cargo ship now approaching the bridge. I think all fair statements so far. Traffic still moving. Nice clip, nothing alarming. Everything seems to be cool and steady. Traffic is allowed to continue. No reason to think anything is up. Ship is going. Looks on the back half of the ship, looks dark. Now, we could pose an argument that this ship is already turning and actually heading left to right towards the columns. Whereas I used to think that little yellow light or the backlight, I thought that was the back end of the ship. But in fact, that is the side of the ship. And whatever angle we're looking at here is so bizarre. It looks like it's going towards the column. So my question is, and this is something I didn't consider, are we seeing the ship approaching us? Because it's an optical illusion. This ship might be already 50, 60, 70, 80, even 100 feet on the other side of the bridge. But to our perception, it looks like it's on this side of the bridge. Does that make sense? So this, if you look at it from that perspective, that this ship is actually on the other side of the bridge already, it is now approaching the bridge. Because where my arrow is, I don't know if you could see this, is the front end of the boat. This white is the right side of the ship. Is that port or starboard? What is that? Port, the right side. This back end, that's the back end of the boat. So right now we're looking at, I would say this would be one quarter profile. We're not facing it directly, but we're not perpendicular to this ship. We're almost perpendicular. We're perpendicular. We're, what would we say, horizontal? Or this is actually perpendicular to the bridge right now. I would say. I would suggest we're perpendicular. Hopefully we got some people that know geometry. I wish I took geometry in school. I wish I paid attention. So we're perpendicular to the bridge. We are almost perpendicular to the ship. Is that fair? Let's have a look at the comments here. Yes, it is on the opposite side of the bridge from what we are seeing. That's sure what it looks like. If you just glance at this, I would go, that ship is on this side. But when you look at the footage the next day, that ship is massive. It's our eyes can't figure out distance right now. We're looking at 2 dimensions. We can't figure out, we have no spatial awareness. So this ship, from my perspective right now, is actually heading towards the column. That's the front end that we're looking at the right side. And I'm trying to get perspective here because that one camera angle that we saw before, we saw it turn 180. This one, it's already at 170, 160 degrees. That's what makes this like an optical illusion. We're still not seeing. I would have loved to see 10 minutes before this angle because I want to see the turn. The turn has already happened. So from this perspective now, it is coming towards that column. Are we fair? Coming from a bend in the river that's left. That's why they're not going under the center. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see that. Like, man, if I was an investigator, I would be like walking around this whole area and all this kind of stuff because, man, this is interesting. I find this interesting. All right. So it's going to hit the right support farthest away from the ship or the left one from this. I think it's going to hit the farthest right because, again, right now, if that ship were to turn 10 degrees, it would be, it's almost like it's an optical illusion, but it's almost perpendicular with us, how we're looking right now. Like we're on a weird angle because it looks like we're perpendicular, but we may not be 100%. And I'm thinking of perpendicular being like a T intersection. So we got different angles here that's hard to figure out unless you know trigonometry. All right, let's continue now. Still traffic. Remember that. Still traffic. And we have 3 minutes still. 3 minutes till first contact with the bridge. I see no signs of interruption on the bridge itself. I would be calling Mayday, Mayday, Mayday for 3 minutes. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Already, Mayday. Lights come on. So something's going on here. They got power, don't know. We see plumage a little bit, looks like, perhaps at the top. So could they be putting on the brakes? Possibly. I would be wetting myself right now. Messing myself, going, oh my goodness, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. We are going to hit the bridge. 2 minutes to impact. We still have 2 minutes to impact, folks. So there is a chance that they could be full reverse. Maybe power came on, full reverse. I could almost be their defense attorney now. Disregard all my stuff I said about arrests. Full reverse, full reverse. We're going to hit this, whatchamacallit, and maybe the construction crew all of a sudden got signal, hey, hold up on traffic. We're going to smash. This bridge is going to collapse, folks. Hold on. Power goes out. Lot of diesel fuel coming out the top, like in a form of exhaust at the top. So are they full brakes? Perhaps. Because I like to look at the benefit of the doubt. They are so close to that column right now. We still have another minute. We still have a semi that's going across. So they let the semi go. So that would tell me there's no Mayday yet because they let the semi go. That's the problem. That's a problem. Now, perhaps they stop traffic after the semi, but you let the semi go. Don't know why. So we're still about a minute away from smashing the column. So are they still no anchor? Still rudder problem? Like it looks, oh, we got traffic coming still. Are they stopping the traffic? If they're not stopping the traffic, the idea that they called Mayday goes out the window because the construction crew let them go. So no Mayday call at 1:27:50. No Mayday called. Why? Because the traffic was let go. Now, 28, possible Mayday, Mayday. We are in front of a bridge that we're about to collapse. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday at the 28-minute mark. Perhaps that's what they did. Perhaps they thought maybe we wouldn't hit the bridge. But for the past 5 minutes, you're looking at it going, they're headed for the bridge. 128, so we're now seconds away from them from first contact. 30, 31. No traffic. Traffic halted, perhaps. Bam, impact at 28:45. Now the bridge goes down, and then now you see 3 cars go into the river on the right side. Accident? Possible. Possible. A lot of stuff had to go wrong. Rudder, no anchors, steering column, everything went wrong just at the time as they're going towards the bridge. So we got point of impact at, what did I say? At right there, 46. So at the 5:36 part of this video is the point of impact, 5:36. And then, like I said, there are, if there's construction crew here, there's maybe 2 guys, maybe 4. There's 3 cars here, 1, 2, 3 on the right side that were held up for some reason. Don't know why. Seems kind of weird that you let a semi go through and these cars you stopped. Is that the construction crew's cars? That would make more sense to me. And into the water. Man, horrible, horrible. So again, the explosions don't bother me as much. I get it. I understand. I didn't build the bridge. But could these be some kind of electrical conduits? Man, look at, maybe they run power through there, like high voltage. It's possible. So you hit that column and that goes, okay, fair, that you punched out the column. It's possible. And then these cables snap. I don't know what that spark is, but that's also on the bottom, which is where I would have placed the power cables. I would have put them at the bottom of the bridge, not the top. So is that what we're seeing? The bottom of the bridge? No, we see sparks on all 4 corners. That's kind of so that they run cables through all 4 corners of the bridge. And there's that little sparkage right there. Boom. So I don't know. Weird, right? But this thing is definitely, it's already turned. I'm not going to play the whole thing again, but I want you guys to see this. What we're looking at is basically a massive ship. It's probably on the other side of the bridge, still approaching. It's just weird. It's just weird. It's a weird angle. So it's actually headed towards the columns right now. It's headed towards the columns. It just looks like an optical illusion, but it's actually heading towards the columns, front end first, hitting it. I used to think it was backed up because when you look at it from this angle, right out of the gate, it looks like it's going under the bridge, going to the left. But really what we're looking at is that's the front end right there. It's the front end. So it hasn't even got to the bridge yet from that angle. Weird, right? Man, my eyes are hurting right now. Hurting. Crazy, right? Yeah, they look like it very well could have been the construction workers. One had 6 kids. Horrible, man. Horrible. So that would tell me that perhaps they didn't know what was going on at all because the semi went through. No hint of slowing down. And just by coincidence, maybe no other traffic was going. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to blame the guys on the truck now or on the cargo ship. Oh, man. I don't want to. I don't envy the investigators here. Definitely fishy with the sparks and stuff, but is it? Is it fishy? I would have to see the blueprints to see them running the cables. It's just weird that we saw sparks on one side, this side, bottom, all 4 points, sparks. That's weird. But I'm more stuck on the idea of the ship. And you could build a case. You could say, look, here at this point, this is where we had right rudder failure, left rudder failure. This is at the point that we tried reversing the engines and nothing would work. Not enough time. We almost got it, but it was too much momentum and it mowed down the bridge. So you could pose an argument that this is an accident. I'm on that side that this could be an accident here. But you have to have 3 or 4 things line up. 1, what did you lose? When did you lose control of the ship? 2, did you lose control of the anchors as well with your power outage? You couldn't put the anchors down. 3, you lost the steering mechanism to steer the ship. So you lost the steering, you lost the rudders, you lost the ability for the anchors, possible if it's all electricity. You tried reversing, using your diesel engines to reverse the thrust, if you will. Just not enough time because the boat was too heavy. I could buy all that stuff so far. When did you call the Mayday? We didn't call Mayday until we hit the bridge. That's a problem. That's a problem. You should have called Mayday the second you lost power. Unless you're saying you lost power to the CBs or the radio and you had no power, nothing. Okay, I can buy that as well. You better have this all documented exactly what you did at what time. If you think you're going to miss the bridge, I could see the idea that you wouldn't call Mayday because this is just a little bit out of the ordinary. You got 5 minutes to respond. We're okay. We're not calling Mayday because maybe there's fines in place because they did something. They didn't follow procedure. So now they're in trouble. So now they're second guessing what they have to do. And that time frame of second guessing allows them to not call Mayday, which would save the construction crew. Had they called Mayday at the top, they could have said, hey, we're going to crash. Construction crew, maybe they were running. Maybe they got into their vehicles. Maybe they didn't have their radios on. Maybe the volume. I've had that when I've had walkie-talkies on, that my volume wasn't all the way up because you're trying to hear each other talk about Friends. Maybe you're watching Friends. See, this is a problem. See those books up there? Those are Malcolm Gladwell books, all 5 of them. I have all his books. Outliers is an interesting book. And this is how I think. I try to look at it from every other angle, unbiased. Now, I don't know if you're going to find a channel like this that is scrutinizing everything from this perspective. Maybe you have. I don't know. Interesting, though, right? Yeah, the crew would be... You need the crew for sure. And I would be questioning them all individually on an individual basis, and I would record everything for evidence, obviously, because it's important to know what they were doing at what time. Because again, I can buy it right now at face value. If you're honest and you're like, here's what happened. We lost the rudder. We lost power, which means we don't have access. We don't have access. Let's just say power was out first. So now because of power, you can't control the ship. Okay. I can't drop the anchors. Okay. I can't adjust the steering because one of the engines failed, maybe not two, but one, and we couldn't start it up. And that's what caused the ship to turn. We thought we were okay, but it was too late. By the time we called Mayday, it was too late. Possible. I'm leaning more. If I were to go like this and go accident on purpose, I'm more on the side of accident now after watching this again. I never saw the ship turn until we saw that previous footage where you can actually see it going almost 180. Man, oh man, crazy, right? Off to bed. Okay, Darren, see you later. I hope this was somewhat helpful. It's interesting, right? I'm just seeing real quick if I can find anything else. Because there's actually another piece of footage that would actually show. Okay, let's watch this guy here. See what this guy has to say.
Can we agree that building an Amazon store, building your own Shopify website, or affiliate marketing, and all these other business models that all these gurus are constantly preaching seem a little bit more...
Let's see what this guy has to say here. Well, let's watch it from this.
Holly Taylor has a timeline of the catastrophic.
So we're going to watch from WBAL TV. We're going to watch it from their perspective and see what they have to say. Let's go to them. Let's hear what they have to say.
Catastrophic events from overnight. Let's listen in.
Hey guys, all right, so we're going to take you through the things that we noticed.
Okay, so this ship was the angle that we watched, because look at the top left-hand corner, 125. So they're going to watch it in real time, just like what we did. But here you could see, even from this angle now, it's kind of interesting that the monitor is perpendicular with the gentleman that's facing us because he has a cameraman. This is actually a better perspective now for us, the audience, because now we can see the ship headed, almost looks like straight for the column. And it's on the other side of the bridge, from my perspective, because it's so massive. It's so massive. And it's the only thing that would make sense because it's too big to turn on the dime. Although we did see it turn quite a bit. So let's just watch it from this perspective here.
This as the ship, the dolly, makes its way towards the bridge and eventually collides. You can see here the dolly already in pitch black. We're at 1:25 a.m. This is just about 3 minutes until it collides with the Key Bridge. You can see here everything totally black. As far as we can tell, traffic is moving normally at this stage. You can see the construction lights right here. This is where we believe the construction crew was. And again, traffic making its way across. Now you go back here. We're at almost 1:26 a.m. Some of the lights in the ship have started to come back on in the dolly. It's you can't tell yet, but it's going to make a turn towards the superstructure right here. As of now, it's pointed in a different direction. And again, we have another truck making its way across, followed by a semi-truck after that. Looks like traffic moving normally. You have to wonder, as they looked out to the right, if it looked like the ship was on a collision course. We'll see if we can find those drivers, see what they were thinking. But
I would think you'd have no idea unless you could see from the trucker's perspective. But I would almost think because that ship is down below you, that you're not even looking at the ship. Most people don't look at the vehicles behind them. We look straight ahead. We don't look down. We don't look to the right or whatever. Maybe the trucker thought, maybe. I don't know.
To see the black smoke billowing out here. We're trying to figure out more information about what that black smoke indicates, if that was normal or if that was an issue. Now, again, Governor Moore has told us that a Mayday alert went out from the ship. You can see it goes black here again. And that Mayday alert allowed officials and crews to stop vehicles from crossing the bridge. But that
So if that's the case, we still see a semi coming.
Vehicles from crossing the bridge, but that hasn't happened yet.
There's a semi going across the ship, so no Mayday yet, obviously. Well, that's not true. The Mayday could have been in, but there's not enough time for the construction crew, or maybe they don't have access to the ship. They may not be on the same frequency. The construction crew may not have had anything, zero to do with this ship. They may not, even if there's a Mayday crawling in, that doesn't mean that everybody has access to the construction workers. There would probably have to be phone calls made. So there, I would guess the construction crew is more in the blind than we think. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we're at 1:26. We're about a minute and a half out until the collision happens. We have the last semi truck making its way across. Again, lights here from the construction vehicles. Really, that's the only activity happening, right? We just have this one vehicle going across. We have the construction crews, and the ship is starting to make its final turn. This is where it's going to stay the course for the last minute before it collides. You can't really tell that it's moving, but it's making a steady course to collide with this very important.
I think they were full on reversing the engines to try and stop them from hitting. And I think that was probably the Titanic's problem as well, is when they tried to reverse or slow down, it actually caused them to hit that iceberg as well. Had they just maintained speed, they might have missed it. But they started to reverse engines as soon as they saw the iceberg, and that caused the Titanic to drift towards the iceberg a little bit more than if they had just kept going full steam ahead, maybe even sped up. They might have missed the whole thing. But because they slowed down, they hit it. So maybe this is what's happening here in a panic, which again, I don't blame these guys for reversing their engines because they're headed towards the pillar. And I would think that perhaps you could slow down the boat enough that maybe you just bang into the bridge and that's it. What a horrible feeling it would be for the people in the crew to go, my goodness, we're going to hit this bridge. Slow down.
Structure right here supporting the bridge. Again, right now it's just sort of eerie, deathly silent. Just the construction lights flashing here. These are the last two vehicles that make their way across, from what we can tell. This is
still more vehicles coming across. So there's no, we're not saying that Mayday wasn't called out by the cargo ship. What I am saying is I don't think the construction crew was aware at all. I don't think anybody got a hold of them. I think there was a communication breakdown because if the Mayday was called out, that would be the first thing that I would fix. Is if I were to do construction on the bridge, I need to know what ships are coming. And I would need to have communication with those ships so they could say, hey, we're actually coming underneath the bridge. Just be aware that we're here. I think that's safe, because what happens if the construction workers drop something into the water where the ship was? So I think it's good to have over communication. Hey, what time are you guys going underneath this Baltimore bridge? Oh, we're about 1:30. Okay, there's a construction crew there. Could you just let them know your ETA? We should be there about 1:25. Okay, no problem. They'll keep an eye on you. And just let them know if there's any problems. Done.
It's 1:27 a.m. This is about a minute exactly before the bridge collapses. So these last two vehicles make their way across.
So if the construction crew knew a minute before, if they already had the Mayday, they wouldn't have let that traffic go. That tells me they didn't know anything. They didn't know what was going on below. And that makes sense. There's so many layers of red tape. You can't just get a hold of this construction company. You're on a cargo ship. There could be language barriers. We don't know.
Again, you have to wonder as they're making their way across, if they looked out to the right, have to wonder if they saw the ship coming.
And again, that bridge is massive. You got to understand, you can only see maybe 3 feet away from your vehicle. You're not seeing under the bridge. You would have to look over the rail to see that massive cargo ship below you. You'd have to look down. You can't see it from traffic. My humble opinion, but I'm pretty sure you can't see. I've been on bridges. Unless you're really paying attention, you don't notice what's going on below you.
If they knew that it was going to collide, and if they drove a little bit faster as a result. So they make their way across here in the next couple seconds.
Like, that's almost like saying the construction crew is like, okay, I understand you got to get across the bridge. We're going to let you go. This bridge is going to collapse, or this cargo ship's going to hit it. Go, 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 go. No sign of traffic speeding up. They didn't know.
As they're making their way across, they looked out to the right, have to wonder if they saw the ship coming, if they knew that it was going to collide, and if they drove a little bit faster as a result. So they make their way across here in the next couple seconds. You can see it's 1:28 a.m. and we're now just 30 seconds out from when the ship collides with the bridge. This is the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and you're going to see smoke billow out here. It's going to be a little grainy, but you'll see it happen, and then within 10 seconds, the entire structure will collapse. Now, again, no cars whatsoever at this point. We're told this is because of efforts to clear the bridge because of a Mayday call, and you'll see here in just a few seconds the smoke starting to come out, and then the bridge will collapse. It's going to happen right about now. You'll see the smoke start to come out here. There it is, coming out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bam, the entire structure comes down, collapses there. And we're at 1:28 a.m., almost 1:29 a.m.
Wow, crazy, eh? Crazy. All right, we're back. So, interesting perspective as well. I think he was pretty accurate on most. I think he maybe tried to hype it up a bit. I wonder if those cars knew. Possible, we don't know. I don't think so. I'm leaning on the side of anybody that was on the bridge didn't know. It's too many levels of communication. Too many levels of communication. Yeah, so I don't know if this bridge collapsing is a sign of America collapsing. I don't want to lean down on that side of it. I think an investigation needs to be done. I think you don't let the people go from the cargo ship. I think there's too many layers of communication. Too many layers going on. I think this should be a case to show that how vulnerable we are as human beings, that we don't have everything figured out. But I would approach this differently from now on moving forward. What I would do is I would draw out a bit of a flow chart, if you will. I would say I would create a column that says what's fragile right now in the world. And you can use this for home as well. What's fragile and what's anti-fragile and what's robust, meaning you don't really care either way. It's just kind of, it is what it is. So if it's fragile just means nothing is breaking down right now in your life or in your career. If you're a shipmaster, if you're a bridge builder, you're fragile because everything is going right. But if something goes wrong, it's really wrong. It's really bad. You can't reverse it. That's fragile. Anti-fragile means you make a bunch of little mistakes and you correct them as you go. they're so minor that you could reverse them. You could change your direct trajectory right away. You want to live in an anti-fragile world, if you will. You don't want to live on the side of fragile, meaning one mistake, you're done. One more mistake in your marriage, it's over. Because you've made mistakes before. One more mistake, it's over. That's fragile. Anti-fragile is you talk about everything in a relationship. So if you want to be anti-fragile, you want to be bulletproof, you say things like to your spouse, you know what? I was actually thinking lustful thoughts. I was actually thinking about watch porn, but then I thought about you and I'm like, you know what? I can't do that to my wife. Instead that just tells me that maybe we got to go see a movie, or we got to go for a walk, or maybe go out for dinner or whatever. It's not the thought that comes in that takes you out. You're anti-fragile means you're bulletproof, which means you capture all these thoughts that come into your head. And with regards to construction, you lay these out, these 3 columns out. You go fragile, anti-fragile. What makes this bridge fragile? Well, what makes it fragile is if a ship collides, we lose the whole bridge. That's horrible. Yeah, that's how fragile this bridge is. Well, how can we make it anti-fragile? Well, we need to have steps as they approach the ship, that all these mechanisms are in place. We need tugboats. We need ships that are there in case of an emergency, but that's going to cost money. I know it's going to cost money, but if you have a fragile bridge, you're going to lose the whole bridge and you're going to kill 6 people. Oh, well, that's worth more than money. Okay, so what are you thinking? Well, we need to have a patrol escorting every ship that comes underneath this bridge. Serious? Yes. Because it's that fragile. So we can correct our little mistakes. If the ship loses power or whatever, right away we know. And if there's people on the bridge, we need to have somebody on either side of the bridge that's in communication to stop traffic in case of emergency. Why? Because this bridge is fragile. All bridges are fragile after this. They're not anti-fragile. We've just proved it. So therefore, you must protect all bridges by having safeguards in place to make it anti-fragile. Because if you make it anti-fragile, you can correct the mistakes as you go along. Did you do an inspection on the ship as you're approaching? Everything's good, all power, cool. It's okay. We have an escort. We have a tugboat that's escorting us underneath this bridge. No harm, no foul. You can correct things. So I would say you'd want to be with a company that makes little mistakes every day. Little course corrections. There probably is going to be, I would think there's going to be a huge grid, a huge backup, because they're going to waste too much time and resources to investigate this incident, because they're going to look at everything. They're going to upturn everything, and they're going to go to every bridge, and they're going to go overboard, because this is what happens when you have a black swan event, is you think this is going to happen again, and it probably won't happen again. The probability of it happening again is lower because it just happened. Because you're on alert, you're going to be over alert now. You're going to exhaust all resources to fix every bridge in America overnight. And that's not the problem. The problem is you in order to become anti-fragile, you need to be able to have little things in place so that you can afford to make little mistakes every day and correct them as you go. Little tiny mistakes, micro mistakes. So if you're with a business, you want to be with a business that is okay with making little mistakes every day to improve, to make the ship go forward. If you're in a company that does not make any mistakes, get out. Get out now. Why? Because the mistake that they make will collapse their business. It's too big. You can't reverse it. So you need to be with companies that are okay with people making mistakes and errors, but they're tiny. And you can monitor it and go, yeah, that's okay. You made a little mistake. Now that you know what that mistake is, don't do it again. And you just crack little corrections all the way through the company. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to make little micro mistakes. Fine. That's what we do. That's our business model. We make mistakes all the time, every day. But we're not going to collapse. Football teams make mistakes every day. They make corrections. Hey, that quarterback got sacked. That was a mistake. It's not the end of the game. It's not even the end of the season. Fix it. Correct it a little bit. We need more blockage. We need somebody blocking this guy because he's coming through. Done. Micro. Now you host the Super Bowl. You host whatever trophy they call it. I don't know what they even call it. For us, it's the Grey Cup. Fix those little micro. If you have a team that is so worried about making mistakes that they're going to get traded, that team will not make the playoffs. You have to be willing to make mistakes. Why do you think the Edmonton Oilers were like the greatest team ever when Wayne Gretzky was there? They made so many mistakes. Why? They didn't have defense. So what they did is they just built the defense around the offense, which was Gretzky, Messier, all these guys. They're like, you know what? If we can let them score less goals on us than we're putting in their net, we're okay with making mistakes on defense because Wayne Gretzky is going to get 5 goals tonight. Our goalie's going to let in 3 or 4 from all of their players, but one of our guys can score 5 goals. And if Mark Messier's on, we're probably going to win 11-1, 11-2, 11-3. So we don't even care about our goalie. We don't even need a goalie. We're gonna outshoot them 100 to like 20. They were making mistakes all the time. Horrible. Gretzky is probably the worst defenseman on the planet. Why? Because he's a forward. He's the worst goalie on the planet. Doesn't belong in the net. He belongs scoring goals. So if you need a company, go with a company that makes a lot of mistakes every day, but they're tiny ones that you can fix. And you know your ship is going forward. But people are going to be thinking, oh, we got to fix every bridge overnight. It's the construction of the bridge. We got to make them stronger. And we're going to put all resources into that bridge. When instead you just need to put a little key locks in place so that you can correct the minor mistakes, the little micro mistakes that you're making along the way. That's how I would solve world problems. It's weird, right? All of a sudden you're going to think, oh, Shane knows everything. No, I don't, folks. But that's how I would fix it. Yeah, I don't know. I just think a lot of mistakes were made that day that could be fixed so that you don't have to have that happen again. That's it. My time's up, folks. Hope you guys had fun on here. I will see you guys on another video. I got to do some work. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you on another live stream. Hope you enjoyed this. Bye.